Alright, I'm back with another video. I know it's been a hot second since I posted something, but I've enjoyed having fun with the league. It's been a great one. They just extended it by 2 months, which is cool. Out of all the leagues to do it for, it's really nice to see that they're doing it for this one. As, again, it's the one to do it in. So, fantastic. Gotta love it. Today, we're going over Blighted maps. If you've seen other Blighted map videos, you really don't have to watch this, to be honest. Really, this is a lot more about the theory being put to kind of the test. So what I'm talking about essentially is if we take a look at the Atlas tree, tons of strategies, right? And my Atlas tree is a mess. Do not copy this. I am like half morphing it around everywhere because I've been like basically jumping around the Atlas doing different strategies. So don't copy this. Why I opened it up is just because we have a lot of strategies, but one of the things about Blight is that it makes it very unique of how it works. Which is that you have the actual Blight nodes, right? So if I search in Blight nodes, we have quite a bit of them, a lot on the left side of the tree. So we have them up here and such, and here, you know, all over, and you can kind of fill out these, as well as other nodes around, which, you know, whatever you want to do. However, the big thing is that the league mechanic itself prints out different kinds of currencies on its own, like within your maps as you're running them. And obviously they can also print out Blighted maps themselves out of your normal maps, and that's how we get our Blighted maps. However, these Blighted maps are their own maps and can be run just like a normal map. Why am I saying this? Well, if you run the Blighted maps, right, then they have to generate more currency than what they were selling for, or else, like, that doesn't make any sense, right? So it's kind of like you get to pick either or. Do you want to farm the maps, as in, like, actually create them, or run the content to consume them and then take the rewards out of that, etc., right? Now, I touch on this later again in the video, but basically the idea of why this strategy is really interesting is because at all points in the league, it is a balance of how expensive are the maps and how expensive are the like materials to get going to like create the maps, if you will. So like if you really wanted to get into it with like sextants and things like that, I think there's ones that like allow you to force Blight on the map and things like that, because we do not have it on the map device this season. It is not on here. So it's kind of like, you know, you might as well just, you know, pick either side and start doing them. I get everyone doesn't like Blight, but if you're definitely looking for some easy money, this is how you can do it. And it's viable at all points of the league, especially because, again, it's a balance. Let's go to the extreme, and this is what I say again at the end of the video, but might as well just say it here, and then we'll skip into the gameplay, is if Blighted maps, let's say each one were, I don't know, 5 divines, 10 divines. I'm getting way out there. But the idea is that if you extrapolate that to like some stupid number, right? Then you would just go and farm the Blighted maps yourselves because you're selling them for 5 to 10 divines a piece. But likewise, if they're like 1 chaos, then you'd probably just go and farm them yourself because the value of what they're spitting out is more than that. So it kind of has to have an equilibrium of like always being profitable. Anyway, I think it's some cool stuff. Let's hop into a map and talk about Blight a little more. Alright, so we are in the Blight Ravage map, so I'm going to be going over what I basically do in the map. So the first thing I do is usually just kind of survey it a bit. So I go around, see where everything can spawn, as that's number 1. It's basically just kind of seeing where you're at. And again, I chose this because this is actually the worst, in my opinion, one of the worst layouts you can get because it's not very open. You want something that is open so that way the towers can actually reach. You notice there's a lot of walls, and yeah, that means there's a lot of choke points, so as in like areas the monsters have to go through, but you want the openness so that way the towers can actually reach, right? Because if the towers can't go through walls, which they can't, so in this case it blocks them, then that limits their ability to actually perform their job. So what am I actually doing setting up? Well, as you've been seeing, I've basically been setting up empowering towers and freeze towers and stun towers. That's a big key. And I'll put up on screen as well, like what annoyance I'm using and such as well. But basically the idea is I'm trying to perma CC the monsters. So again, I know this has been done before. This isn't like a necessarily like new strategy in a sense, but this is, I'd say, updated for Sanctum, especially with the Arch Nemesis changes and such, which being a lot better. I think there's still some stun immune ones, but again, your ice one should be able to catch it. And for ring annoyance as well, I use the ones that I showed on screen. However, you can also use other combinations as well, I've heard, like where like chilling towers freeze enemies and things like that. So there's a bit of experimentation here. In terms of what I've anointed on the map, I put on, because Blight Ravage maps can be anointed up to 9 times. I put on, it was reds, I want to say indigos, and then the sepias for the tower like building cost and such. So basically it's tower building cost, increased rewards, like a 75% chance to gain like an additional chest, and then lucky rewards. I'm sorry, that's what I meant to say by increased rewards, lucky rewards. So like rolls twice and it gives you like the better outcome. And the thing is, that was a really cheap investment because this map costs like 15C. You spend the oils, that's probably another like 5C, so like 20C map, something like that. If you want to like round super up, then it's 25C. But overall, it ends up being super duper profitable because you're spending like 20 to 25C max, right? And you're getting quite a bit more out of it, which I'll go over in like an excellence section after this. But basically, as the gameplay you can see in the background, again, it's just me frantically placing towers, just putting them down. And if you have an open layout, it's a lot easier because you get much more overlaps, etc. And some Blight Ravage maps, you'll see you go for like 60 chaos or something like that, or 70 chaos, which I think those are like the optimal layouts. I want to say that's like Haunted Mansion or something like that. There's something special about that. Again, true Blight farmers have it kind of on lock of like what's the, really, good map layouts and such. But for this, again, I was literally just putting the cheapest of the cheapest maps because it really doesn't matter. The strat is so OP enough that having this small of an investment in, you make so much back, and it's not necessarily super micro heavy as well. Because again, you're just like, you just put down the same combos and such, and your character doesn't have to be super geared or anything either in order to clear it. It helps, right, obviously, like if you go in with your character and try to help out, but it doesn't have to be crazy. Because you're just pacing the empowering, chilling, and the stun towers, and then if you need more damage, which meaning like, after you get your main set up and you're like, okay, everything's clearly perma-frozen in place, then you put in, as you can see, I'm putting in the fire towers, upgrading them to meteor, and then those deal a ton of damage. GG, you're good to go. So that's what I've been doing there. Basically, because of how this strategy works, and I'm just kind of talking more, you can observe the gameplay in the background, study it. Here is a death. I wanted to include this actually before I move on to the next part. It's funny, it came up pretty quick. Is because I definitely could have avoided that death. Like I saw the boss hitting me and I was like, okay, I see it in, but I'm just too lazy to sit there and tank it, right? So if you get out of the way, you're totally fine. But if you don't, it's all good. Again, it's whatever, right? Like I'm not like scared to get back into the map in time. Like again, everything's basically frozen for the most part. So it's all cool. Now, in terms of why this is such an insane strat economically, think of it this way. You have two options for how the Blight market can go. One is in which the Blight Ravage maps are like, let's, extrapolate this to a massive value, like 5 divines, right, per blighted map, right, which is ridiculous. Well, then you just go and find go and farm the blighted maps, right? You spec blight all around your tree, you go and farm all the maps, GG. Or the blighted maps are so cheap that you can just run them yourself because there's such an overbearing supply. So you can bounce in between those depending on how the market moves. So you really can't fail in a sense, right? And which is why blight is always such like an insane moneymaker, and also as well it drops everything. One of the big things that can happen too is you could say, oh well, Blight Ravage maps or whatever drop really low because what they produce is low. The problem is that they produce everything. So unless the entire market tanks, meaning your Delirium Orb, stack decks, any catalyst, blah blah blah, right? Like whatever can even drop, like which is just like tons of stuff from Blight Ravage maps. That all has to tank. So unless it tanks, you're like, the entire market tanks, which at that point that's like impossible and or a separate problem, you're good to go. So because this is taking a set amount of time, you have to wait that 5 minutes. There is an anoint that speeds it up, to be fair. So just in case like people comment like, oh, you can speed it up. Yes, you can. If your build can handle more, absolutely speed it up, put more rewards, etc. But this is just the baseline. All right, so this is the results for one map. And this is essentially just showing off the Excellence Next like tab breakdown essentially of what I picked up. And there's a lot of stuff here, but like it's pretty condensed at the same time. Basically breaks down into stack decks, some oils, bit of currency, essences, and then some div cards, which again sounds like a lot, but this is the only page. So like there's no more after this. This is it essentially, which is 7.5x or 0.58 div. I filtered by 0.5 essentially, so anything lower than that didn't count. I understand some stuff you go like, oh, I don't know if I can select the wretched for like 2C, right, or something like that. Although I actually think you can because I like gambling stuff, but you get the point. It'd be like an Emperor's Luck. You can't sell for like 1C, right? But otherwise it does a pretty good job pricing stuff, especially even like Screaming Essences. It's like, oh, 0.67, things like that for C, right? Which to be honest, you could probably sell them for like 1C. And again, if you look at the cumulative as well, these stacked decks overpay by the map twice over, right? Now you may say, oh, what happens if I don't get stacked decks in the map? Or like if I get different drops, things like that, right? Well, again, it weights towards other stuff. So like in this case on that map, like I got a good amount of diff card stuff. Sometimes you might get like some Deli Orb stuff, some Abyss stuff, right? Which by the way, the Abyss Jewels, things like that can roll actually, pretty good, right? You can even corrupt them and sell them. So there's like a lot of like random stuff that can drop. Again, it's a big mixture of everything. The point is they always make money. This I would say is like an average map. This actually isn't anything special. Because yeah, it dropped a decent amount of stuff, but like there's no like golden oil, there's no big ticket drop. Yeah, we have silver oil, which is good, and good amount of stack decks. Besides that, it's just kind of random stuff. So you kind of get the idea. It's just bounce between the two. If blighted Ravage maps and blighted maps in general are very, very expensive, go farm them. If they're really, really cheap, then go actually make the blight maps yourself. Like go into your normal maps and generate them, sell them in bulk, done deal. Always something you can do. I can understand it's not always the most exciting for people, but if you enjoy the tower defense playstyle, it's pretty awesome. So that's what I got for now. I'm going to try to put out some videos later this week, because I'm really, really enjoying the league, and I know I took a break from YouTube and such, just kind of doing the league, because again, it's been very, very fun, which has been awesome. I'm really, really happy about that. Hopefully this helps you guys out, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.